professor of management at Missouri State University. He teaches courses in human resource management and organizational behavior. He received his PhD in management from New Mexico State University. He holds a Master of Science degree in industrial organizational psychology from Missouri State University. Dr. Scroggins also holds an MDiv, Master's of Divinity.
Yeah, Master of Divinity.
I did practice this. Yes, degree from Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary and is an ordained minister. Dr. Scroggins is the executive director of Abolish Abortion in Missouri. He is active in the fight to end abortion in Missouri and works with state legislators to abolition legislation. He also works to educate the church in the issues impacting the culture. He resides in Billings, Missouri, where he operates a small farm. And he also brought his son Ethan. I've got a secret. Today, Ethan is 18.
Hey.
Who wants to join me? Ready? Come on. Happy birthday to you. Come on. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ethan. Happy birthday to you. And many more. All right. Come on up. We'll change over here to our stuff.
I guess I have to, thanks for putting him on the spot.
Was that good? All right, now
Yeah, that was good.
you don't need the, and there we are. Now, did you reconnect your Wi-Fi or your?
It's good.
You're good.
I think we'll be.
Okay, so this is the better one. There you go.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully it won't be. Can everybody hear me okay? If I hold this mic just about right here? Okay, great. And let me see here. It's nice to be back with you all. It really is. I was here, what was it, Jan? Back,
About a year ago,
yeah, a year and a half ago, maybe,
Session had started,
something like that.
and then previously on Zoom with us.
Yeah, even before that. So this is, I think my third time speaking to this group, and it's always great. You all are always a great group, and I just appreciate you all having me back to talk about this issue. My son, he follows me around most everywhere I go when it comes to these types of things. We're headed to Jefferson City in the morning, opening day of session. It starts tomorrow, and we're in the state capitol pretty much every Wednesday when session is underway, when it's open, and that's basically January through May of each year. And so he's there with me nearly every Wednesday, maybe with the exception of a few, but he's always there, going through, in the hallways, the legislators' offices, and those kinds of things. And Jacob, you hit it, man, when you said earlier that you were tired of trying to get legislators to do the right thing. I want to tell you something, folks. I've been sick and tired of that now for a long time, trying to convince people who claim to be good Christian people to do the right thing. It's a problem, all right? And so, Jan, how much time do we have?
An hour?
An hour? Okay, I better put my phone up here. Okay, so basically just about 6:30,
About 6:30, and then questions and answers, and then we'll.
Okay, so we need to move along then, because I do want some time for question and answers. Actually, I think that's the best part. Okay, there's two things that I need really want us to accomplish tonight, and I hope everybody can see this. If you can't, the font's going to get bigger. Believe me, with the next few slides, so it'll be a little bit easier to read. But the two things that we need to do. Number one, I want to just inform you of what's going on in Missouri and the status and the state of abortion. All right. And talk a little bit about the Senate bill that we have that's been introduced by Senator Moon. I think Mike Moon was here just a few months ago, and he's been a friend of mine. Mike and I have been friends for, I guess I should call him Senator Moon, right? But we've been friends for 15, 20 years, and he has introduced our abolition bill. So we got to talk about that. And then the second thing that we need to do is to talk a little bit about the IP initiative petition issue. Is anybody in here aware of what's going on in terms of the initiative petitions to get the right to an abortion on the ballot before Missouri voters?
We had Ron here.
Okay, so Ron
addressed the crowd too.
Okay, that's right, because that's where he's bringing in the CMR okay, so you all are somewhat informed, and maybe
You don't need to be.
nothing else to say on that. I mean, especially after Ron Calzone has been here, right?
I'd like a review on it, so.
What's that? A review?
To me, so
I can give you.
If you could.
I can certainly do that. All right. Let's pray real quick, and then we'll get started. Okay. Father, I just thank you for this opportunity to be here tonight with these great people. We just pray that you would just bless this conversation, and Father, may your will be done. I pray you just lead our discussion. We pray all this in the name of Jesus. Amen. All right. Just real quick, Abolish Abortion Missouri. We work from a biblical perspective. All right, and that's why you see a few of these scripture verses up here, and especially Deuteronomy 24:17 over there on your left. We are all about equal protection and equal justice under the law, and that's what God requires. And God, read scripture all the way through it. God is a God of justice, right? A God of justice, a God of righteousness, and He basically tells us that has to be applied equally to everyone. We believe that the preborn are just as human as you and I, created in the image of God, and therefore they have all the rights, that God has bestowed upon any of us, and that they deserve equal justice and equal protection under the law. And so if it's wrong to kill a born person, it's wrong to kill a preborn person. All right, that's equal justice, equal protection, equal application of the law to all human beings. And that is basically the biblical principles. Those are the biblical principles upon which Abolish Abortion Missouri that we operate. All right. And so just let me just, you already know the answer. Jan, I think you gave it away, and the fact that I'm here, you already know, how I'm answering this question anyway. Is abortion really banned in Missouri? And the answer is no, it's not. And I know that we hear that. You've heard that. You've probably heard that we were the first abortion-free state in the nation. That was basically put out there in the media within hours after Roe was overturned back in June 24th of 2022. And Governor Parson and then Attorney General Eric Schmidt signed the letters basically activating the trigger law that we'll talk about here in a bit, but the trigger law that was on the books. And from that, basically they did that within hours after Roe was overturned. And, we've heard ever since that Missouri was the first abortion-free state where abortion is illegal and banned. That is not the truth, all right? Here is, can you all see this down here at the bottom? Can you see that there? Here's the truth. And I'm going to make my case, all right, here over the next several minutes. The truth of the matter is that abortion is still very alive and well in Missouri, okay? And it's never been easier. It's never been easier than it is today to get a legal abortion in the state of Missouri. Any woman who wants to abort or kill, I'm just going to kill, murder, that's what it is, all right? Any woman who wants to kill her preborn child can legally do so in Missouri. And there's no law against that. And that's the truth, all right? And so that's the case that I want to make to you here over the next little bit. Let me turn the slide. Okay, so hopefully the print here has gotten a little bit bigger for you. And the Missouri Trigger Law. The Missouri Trigger Law was what went into effect when Governor Parson and Attorney General Schmidt signed the letters activating it within hours after Roe was overturned. It was on the books for a long time. And you can see here, here's the, in the revised statutes, 188.017, go and look that up. That is the Missouri trigger law that was triggered. That's where it gets the name, the trigger law. It was basically triggered when Roe was overturned. And you'll see that stated in the law, that it would only go into effect, once the federal government, right, allowed us to do so. So much for, Mr. Turner, the lesser magistrates, right, that need to stand up and against the upper magistrates and do the right thing. But anyway, it went into effect, and you can read it there. Matter of fact, here's what I want to do, if I can. And Ethan, I hope this works. It worked a while ago, right? Let me see here. Where's my cursor?
You're at the bottom.
Okay. I know you, oh man, you all can't. Can you read that in the back? I can't read that from right here, all right? This is the trigger law. You're looking at 188.017 right now. I know you just can't read it. But down here, and I don't want that, right? I'm going to start probably having all kinds of things pop up here. But here's what I want to point out to you, all right? It's this little section, it's subsection 2, and it's this last sentence that is right in here, all right? And here's what it says. And this is what we're gonna talk about for a while. It basically, in the first part of the paragraph, it says, no abortion shall be performed or induced upon a woman except in cases of medical emergency, and any person who knowingly performs or induces an abortion of an unborn child shall be guilty of a Class B felony and is subject to revocation of his or her professional license. All right? Talking about a doctor, obviously. Here's the last sentence in this paragraph. Okay? It says, a woman upon whom an abortion is performed or induced in violation of this subsection shall not be prosecuted for a conspiracy to violate the provisions of the subsection. Let me read that again. A woman upon whom an abortion is performed or induced in violation of the subsection shall not be prosecuted for a conspiracy to violate the provisions of the subsection, all right? And so basically what that is saying, can you all see that? Here's what the trigger law does, all right? Let's just get right down to it, so we need to move on. The trigger law makes an exception. I just read it to you. It makes an exception for the woman. Basically, it states very clearly, very explicitly, that a woman shall not be held accountable, even for conspiring, it says, to kill that unborn child. There's an exception in that trigger law, and that's what you don't hear in the news, and that's what you don't hear from the politicians, all right? The trigger law is very narrow. I mean, it is narrow in its application. Here's what the trigger law did. It closed abortion clinics, right? It stopped doctors from performing abortions in clinics in this state. It also stopped doctors from prescribing abortifacients, pills, to induce an abortion. That's illegal. That's what the trigger law stopped, all right? What it didn't stop is the mother, the woman, performing the abortion on her own. She's exempt from the law. There's no law whatsoever, nothing whatsoever, that holds the woman accountable for killing that baby. She's exempt. So, how are most abortions being performed? Most abortions, and this was even pre-Roe, by the way, all right? Can you all read that okay? Statistics were showing that even before Roe versus Wade was overturned, that over half of all abortions were being performed already at home through the use of pills. We've been making that transition for years, all right? And so the majority of the babies being killed, it was already being done that way. It wasn't being done in abortion clinics. We've been making that transition again for quite some time, all right? And so, you know, what happens and how abortion continues legally in the state is for the woman to simply order pills, right? Aborting things like mifepristone and misoprostol. Those are the two. Mifepristone and misoprostol, right? Are the two drugs. They're readily available from all kinds of organizations. You can order those pills. You can have them mailed directly to your home in your mailbox, right? You get the pills out, you follow the directions, you abort the child at home. It's called a self-managed abortion. And it's done at home, all right? There's absolutely no law in the state of Missouri that prohibits that woman from doing that. The trigger law itself says she's not accountable. It's a perfectly legal abortion, as long as she does it at home, on her home, all right? That's how abortion continues. Here's a study out. I know you can't read the small print down here, but basically these results right here are results from a study that was published about a year ago now in the, it's the journal. Yeah, I never can get that right. Not in my area of expertise. But it's the Journal of the American Medical Association. I mean, we've all heard of it, right? I mean, it's one of the top journals in the field of medicine, the Journal of the American Medical Association, the AMA, and it was published back last year in 2022. And basically what they did, I've got the article. I've got it right here on my computer, the entire article. I've read it. And what they did is they looked at least one, the main abortion pill provider company. It's called Aid Access. Look it up. You'll easily find it. Just do a search for Aid Access, and it'll easily come up on your computer. But basically what they were doing, they were looking at statistics that were reported by this one pill provider. You know, in terms of how many pills were being ordered by women across various states, including Missouri. And the numbers that they show is that right here, they're estimating is that somewhere around 1,200 to 1,500 children are still being aborted legally in Missouri every year, all right?
Wow.
Women are ordering the pills, having them shipped to their home. They're aborting the child in the home themselves, a self-managed abortion. And that is based upon numbers of pills sold to women in the state of Missouri who ordered pills who live in Missouri. And folks, it's just one pill provider. Those numbers are probably quite a bit higher, all right? Because this was basically just being reported from one pill providing organization, and there are numerous ones. Basically, here's what these doctors concluded, was that laws like the trigger law, right, that restrict abortion, and here's the problem with the pro-life movement. You know, we have for 50 years tried to pass laws that just simply restrict abortion instead of end it. Okay? The only biblical, position to take on abortion is that it's an abomination that needs to be ended immediately. The pro-life movement has just sought to restrict it. And the result of that is what? Is that limiting abortion within the formal healthcare setting is associated with what? An increase in the number of self-managed abortions. Basically what they're saying is when you pass these laws that basically restrict abortion, like the trigger law, and many others that we have in the state of Missouri and many other states that do what? That basically, here's the conditions under which an abortion, it's got to be done by this week. It has to be done in a clinic that meets these standards. There's got to be a waiting period. All these different restrictions. What does it do? It basically just incentivizes more women to just order the pills and just abort, just kill the baby at home on their own. That was their conclusion. All right? You all can't see this, I don't believe, very well. You want to know how easy pills are to get? Just go home here after a while, get on your computer, and just Google something along the lines of abortion pills online. And you're going to have all kinds of options that are going to come up. Abortion pills are very, very easy to get. This is the web page from an organization called Plan C. And I don't know if you can see it or not. Right here's the web address to this page. But this organization is called Plan C. And it's basically an organization that helps women, especially in states where abortion has been restricted. It helps women get pills. And I don't know if you can see this up here, hopefully the bigger print, Missouri. Right there on Plan C's website, they've got a page for the state of Missouri. Women in Missouri, here are your options for getting pills into your mailbox in the state of Missouri. And right there at the top of the list, in the little blueprint right there, is Aid Access, the major pill provider. That organization is actually based in Europe. It's not even a US organization. It's a European organization, but they send abortion pills into every state in the nation, Missouri included. Folks, it's that easy. A simple 3-word Google search, and it's that easy to get abortion pills. And women are doing it. More and more and more. They're getting those pills and aborting those babies at home. All right? Abortion is still it's still very alive and well. Okay, quickly here, the Guttmacher Institute, basically they release a monthly abortion provision study. I just want to show you quickly, hopefully you can read these numbers here. Again, the effects of abortion restrictions, when we pass laws that basically just restrict it instead of completely abolish it, here's what happens. Can you all read the print there? Can you all see that? Look at what's happened in neighboring states, just next door to the state of Missouri. From 2020 to 2023, in the state of Kansas, where abortion is still, the clinics are still open, abortions increased 99%, according to this report. In the state of Illinois, next door, and these are the actual numbers that with the plus sign, but in Illinois, 69% increase in the number of abortions. You all know why that is? You know why those numbers are going up? You know, Jacob.
Yeah. They're busing them over from public schools.
Here you go.
Yes, to the abortion clinics without the parental consent. They don't even tell the parents.
Yeah.
That was caught. They've exposed that. Project Veritas exposed it.
Yeah. If you shut down the clinics in the state, you just simply go across the state lines to the next state. That's why these neighboring states, the abortion numbers have just shot up. Because where are Missouri women going? If you don't want to do it, it's at home on your own, in your own home, self-managed, you simply cross the state line into Illinois or Kansas, and you have the abortion there. The point that I'm making here, ladies and gentlemen, is that these, pro-life abortion laws that we seek to pass and we get on the books, they don't do anything to save babies. They don't. Hey, Roe versus Wade is gone, and we're still killing babies. Baby killing is still around. It's still alive and well. Even a year and a half after Roe versus Wade has been history. Right? pro-life abortion restriction laws do nothing to actually save the lives of babies. They do what? They just simply motivate and incentivize women to use other methods. And that's all we've done, all right? Abortion is still legal in Missouri as long as you do it in the right place using the right method. So, any woman in Missouri, again, who wants an abortion can get her abortion legally. She just needs to order the pills and use pills and do it at home on her own. And that's a legal abortion in this state and every other state. Politicians aren't telling you that, right? The media is not telling you that. So abortion is still very alive and well. So, quickly, that's why we need an abolition bill, all right? Oh man, I wished I had time for some of this, but very quickly, well, what's coming up? I've got to take a little bit of time for this. Senator Moon has introduced, like he has in years past, another abolition bill into the state legislature, and it is SB or Senate Bill 775. All right, and again, that's a link, and yeah, Jan, you're getting a picture of it there. It's 775.
I'm sending it to Mike Moon.
There you go.
He says, is he there now?
Yeah. I'll see him tomorrow. So that's our abolition bill, and here's what an abolition bill does. All right, we're abolitionists. I don't associate. Matter of fact, the pro-life movement doesn't like us. All right. Missouri Right to Life does not like us. Missouri Right to Life is going to do everything that they can to kill that bill and make sure it doesn't go anywhere. They do that every year. Sam Lee, Campaign Life Missouri out of St. Louis, is going to do the very same thing. Matter of fact, oh golly, where is it? Can you all see that? There's Mr. Sam Lee of Campaign Life Missouri, the big pro-life advocate here in the state of Missouri. This is a tweet that he made back earlier in December, about a month ago, about our abolition bill that was filed. Okay? He basically put this out on Twitter, or X now, I think as it's called, right? Saying, look, I've been a pro-life lobbyist, and then he does say, he said, I've been a pro-life lobbyist for something like 40 years. I've killed a lot of bills in my 40 years as a pro-life lobbyist, and guarantee there will be lots, and he capitalized it, of pro-life lawmakers in both chambers who kill these bills. Right there is a Twitter quote from Sam Lee of Campaign Life Missouri, just within a week after our abolition bill was filed. He's putting it out there, I'm killing it. I'm killing it. These pro-life folks, organizations, they don't do much of anything to end abortion. They simply seek to restrict it. All right? That's all they do. Sam Lee, he's all for bills that allow for the killing of children as long as it's done under certain conditions. All right? That's not biblical. It's an abomination. It's evil. And the only biblical response is to do what Senator Moon's doing and propose the abolition bill SB 775 that basically says, look, you kill a baby, you're probably going to be charged with murder if there's evidence grounds to do it. Because the killing of an unborn child, equal justice, equal protection of the law, is murder. And that's what SB 775, a true abolition bill, does. It truly abolishes abortion by criminalizing the killing of a preborn child by any method, in any location. Just like it would be criminal for anybody to kill you or not, in any location, using any method. Equal justice, equal protection. So that's what we're up to in the legislature. We're going to be trying to move 775 forward. And that's a big job. Because again, our biggest opposition, sources of opposition are these folks right here, okay? Listen, I can tell you, whenever we have our abolition bills get into committees and they get hearings, Planned Parenthood doesn't even show up. That's who you would think would be there. To testify against the bill would be organizations like Planned Parenthood. Folks, I want to tell you something. Planned Parenthood doesn't even show up. They know they don't have to. These people are there to kill it for them. They're there to kill it for them. And right here, those words in blue, those are links. Back in the spring, in the last session, our abolition bill was SB 356. It had a hearing on May 3rd, and Susan Klein, State Director of Missouri Missouri Right to Life, and Sam Lee, Director, Campaign Life Missouri, they were the two people that showed up to testify against our abolition bill. And those are links to their testimony. Because it was all recorded. And they testified in opposition to our abolition bill. They urged the Senate committee to kill it. And they did. All right? So we're fighting for a true abolition bill and to truly put an end to abortion within the state of Missouri. Right now, it's still very alive and well. And until you hold, a perpetrator, and here's the thing, you never end abortion. And that's why, 50 years later, we've not ended abortion, is because you can never end a crime as long as you protect the person who commits the crime. Right? You will never end a crime as long as you protect the person who commits it. You all know human nature. We're not good. And we're not going to stop doing evil things until we're held accountable for doing those evil things. That's why we have laws, right? It says thou shalt not. We'll never end abortion until we hold the perpetrator, the main perpetrator, the mother, accountable. That's equal justice, equal protection under the law. The IP. All right, so Ron Calzone was here a month or so ago and talked to you about this. Here's a big threat to the preborn in the state of Missouri. As far as I know, there's still 17. Do you all remember that?
I think there are currently.
Yeah. There was at one time, there were 17 petitions that had been filed in the state. I think all 17 of them are still alive. But basically, and they're different, all right? They all basically recognize the right to the abortion under certain conditions. I mean, you have some of these, initiative petitions that basically there's no restrictions on abortion, the killing of a baby at all, right? Taxpayer funded, all the way over to the other side where some of them, they recognize the right to an abortion, to the killing of a child, but they have a lot of restrictions. So there's a lot of variance in those 17 petitions. The thing that they all have in common, though, the one thing they all have in common is that they all basically would enshrine the right to killing a child, a preborn child, into the Missouri Constitution as a constitutional right in the state. That's what they all have in common, all right? Beyond that, again, they differ in the degree of restrictions, all right? And things like parental consent. Some of these petitions basically no parental consent. You have others that would require parental consent for a minor, okay? Things of that nature. Anyway, you can read about these on the Secretary of State's website. If you go to Secretary of State's website, go to, I think it's the Initiative Petition tab that you will see at the top of the page. You can find all 17 of these petitions, all right? And so I know Ron, I'm sure Ron explained to you how this would work. Basically, they have until the first week of May, if I understand it correctly, until the first week of May to get signatures. Basically, they've got to go out and collect signatures. I urge don't sign. All right. If you find anybody standing in front of Walmart or anybody else, any place else trying to collect signatures for these things, don't sign. But each petition, in order to get on the ballot, to go to a vote of the people, I think they have to have 171,000 or 177,000 signatures in order to get a petition on the ballot. I don't think at this point that hasn't happened. To my knowledge, do you know, Mr.?
I don't believe so.
No, there hasn't been one of these yet that has got the required number of signatures. But if one does, then basically what would happen is it would be placed on the ballot. Most are thinking, or at least most of the people pushing these are going to want it on the November ballot next November in the general election. But basically go to a vote of the people. And if the Missouri voters then pass it, with a simple majority, basically it becomes law. That's how we got, does anybody remember the recreational marijuana that got into our state constitution was it a year ago, November, in the last major election? You know how recreational marijuana became legalized in Missouri? It was through that process. Somebody, basically created the petition, went out, got the required number of signatures, got it on the ballot before the voters, and the Missouri people approved it. Now it's in the Constitution. That's how this works. So we've got to stop it, all right? Basically these petitions have to be defeated. And so the other thing that we're doing is just really trying to wake people up to what's going on, that this is happening. And to get out there and inform people, we don't want to sign these things. And if one of them does get on the ballot, then we have to defeat it at the ballot box. All right, we've got to go and make sure that it does not win. And then that's where the concurrent majority ratification, the CMR, that's where that comes in. One idea here is that the legislature needs to pass a CMR, resolution bill, and basically change, the requirements for getting, for passing an initiative petition. I don't know that that's going to happen. I don't know if Ron was, when he was here, Ron Calzone, I don't know if he was optimistic or not.
That was very interesting because Barry Hopus was here also at that time.
Okay.
Barry said no, but a couple of the state groups I'm in say it's gonna
Maybe.
go.
Yeah, well, I hope so. The legislature didn't get it done last session. It was a big issue, and they never could come to an agreement to pass anything, on IP reform. And I hope they get it done this time, but I'm not going to hold my breath, as they say, that's going to happen. So anyway, what we're asking you to do is to do everything that you can to please help us get the word out about Senate Bill 775, also about the initiative petitions, and just help spread the word and let people know what's going on and what the threat is. If we ever, if the right, to an abortion, to killing that preborn child ever gets in the Constitution, folks, we'll never get it out. We'll never get it out. It's not going to happen. And that gets into our Constitution is right. I really hate to think, of the consequences of that. Not only for preborn children, who are going to die because of that, but just, God judges nations over this issue. Go back and read His Word. These were this is a major evil in the eyes of Almighty God that He destroyed nations for in Scripture. You know, and I don't see how we can continue to murder our children and escape that same judgment. I don't. You know, if we're going to have a future as a people, we have to, as my friend Rusty Thomas, Operation Save America says, if we're going to have a future as a people, we've got to get this issue right. You know, there's going to have to be repentance. We're going to have to end this abomination in our land. All right? What kinds of questions do you all have? Yes, sir.
I hope I don't sound like an idiot asking this question. Roe versus Wade was reversed 6 months, a year ago. I don't know when it was.
June of 2022. A year and a half.
Year and a half ago.
Mhm.
What in the world did the media hope to gain letting the people of Missouri think that that was a great thing, that Missouri was now abortion-free? That was total deception according to what you just presented.
It was deception. It was a lie.
What did they hope to gain by lying to us like that?
You know, one of the things that they obviously hope to gain is if people believe that abortion is ended within their state, then what are you motivated to do?
Go to the next state.
Yeah, but I mean, are you motivated to do anything here? I mean nothing, right? If we can convince people that, hey, everything's okay here, you know, this evil is abolished within our land, we're not motivated to do anything about it. And I'll tell you what, that is a big challenge. It's a big challenge to abolish abortion in Missouri, because you wouldn't believe the number tomorrow, right? Starting tomorrow again, I'm going to be in the legislators' offices. And you wouldn't believe the number of those legislators that he can testify to this as well. That we walk into their office to talk to them about this issue, and their response is, we abolished abortion in Missouri. It doesn't exist here anymore. You know? I mean, how are those people ever going to take action and get anything done if they believe that it's already done? You see what I'm saying, sir? You know, you can lull people, I guess, so to speak, into passivity, where, you know, they think everything's fine, they don't do anything. And that may have been one of motivation, I don't know.
I guess I underestimate our ignorance. It sounds like a political game to me to make us think that, okay, we're abortion free, and that just gives them time to work on this petition to get it changed the way they want it.
Yeah.
I would suggest it got Eric Schmidt elected to the Senate.
Well, and that's been an argument that, yeah, you know, because he ran on that issue, right? If I remember correctly, he you know, was big about you know, yeah, advertising, so to speak, for lack of a better word, that, you know, he was a major player in ending abortion within the state of Missouri. And, you know, that sounded good to the people. It did. So, yeah, sir, ma'am.
If a pregnant woman is shot and killed,
Thank
and the
you.
baby is dead and murdered, I can't find words to say what I mean. How can they say that it's not murder when we have a precedent that it is murder, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it sounds like an inconsistency to me, right? I mean, it certainly is to me. But here's the difference. It's who's committing the crime, right? And so as long as somebody else kills that woman and that baby, let's hold them responsible. If that mother wants to do it herself, let's don't. See, there's the lack of justice and equal protection under the law. That's that's a part of it. And that's the gap, that's what we have to close up. That's the door, so to speak, that has to be shut. Is that we've got to stop being partial. Holding, one standard out here for born people and then subjecting the preborn to a different standard. That's the door that has to be shut, is that partiality and that lack of equal protection. Yes, ma'am?
So this Senator Moon, and I know we can read it, but is his like nothing, like no way, no how, not ever, even in I don't know it, so that's why I'm asking you. Because I think that's
Yes.
what gets people is like, if it's a danger to the woman's health,
Mhm.
or if that baby is not, there's in Texas, that baby was born without something, had a heartbeat, but didn't have a brain, or something like that, and so they made a big deal out of that. That baby was not going to live outside the womb, and if that baby stayed there, it was gonna kill the mother by the time it matured to
Right.
be delivered. So and I think that's where things happen, is that we don't want abortion, but every once in a while, there's a little bitty circumstance that blows everything to the wayside. So I'm asking you
Mhm.
about Senator Moon. Just
Yeah.
nothing
Do you want
at
to read the
all?
summary?
Huh?
Do you want to read the summary?
Just let me respond to that, if that's okay. In the abolition bill, there's basically 3 exceptions, all right? One is coercion, okay? We don't hold a person responsible for committing a crime, as a criminal, if they've had a gun to their head and they've been coerced to do so, right? I mean, we don't do that as far as our law already recognizes, that exception. So if a woman has been forced against her will, been coerced, had that gun to her head, so to speak, to get that abortion, then she's not going to be criminally held responsible. There's an exception there, right? I mean, again, that would not be equal justice and protection under the law. A second exception is incompetence, all right? If for some reason you've got a woman who is, again, what's the word here? I mean, under law, if we can show that a person is, mentally challenged, but oh gosh, the word escapes me. But that's already a legal defense under the law. If we can show that they are not competent, what's the word?
Just incompetent.
Yeah. They're not competent to stand trial. Mentally things just aren't right. And so, they're not competent to stand trial. Then again, that woman's not going to be held accountable if it can be shown that for some reason, she was not competent as to what she was doing, right? A third exception, and this is the one that you're kind of talking about, is going to be the health and the life of the mother, right? And so, again, we believe that all people are created in the image of God and have equal value in the eyes of God. That is the same for that preborn child that maybe has got certain defects, right? Other issues. They may have severe health issues or defects or disabilities. But look, folks, they're still human beings created in the image of God, right? And so, when it comes to those kinds of issues, what's required of a doctor is to do what's always been required of a doctor. You do everything you can to save the life of both mother and baby. You make a good faith effort to save the life of both. You provide the best care you know how as a physician to save the life of both. If that baby dies, that's not an abortion, right? That's not an abortion. Senate Bill 775, this is what it addresses. It doesn't address, the medical emergency. I mean, it does, because it includes it as an exception. But that's not what the bill was intended for. The bill is intended to speak to those situations where you have the intentional, the planned, intentional murdering of that baby. That's an abortion, right? Or what we call an abortion. It's when it's planned, it's intentional. That woman knows, I'm going to kill this baby. And it's willful. That's when she will be held responsible. Just like she would if she was killing that 1-year-old child, or a 2-year-old child, or a 10-year-old, right? Or anybody else. Equal justice, equal protection of the law. And so those issues are addressed in that bill. And as long as a good faith effort is made to save both woman and child, there's nothing criminal about that. That's the way it should be. That's not an abortion, right? Hope I've answered your question.
Yes, you did.
Sir?
Are you just part, like, are you and your son just like yourself, or is there a group of people of you? Because
Yes.
there's a person I watch on YouTube called Abolition is Rising.
Mm-hmm.
Are you part of that?
No, we're not a part of that organization. They're friends of ours.
They sound exactly what,
Well, they're abolitionists.
yes,
Yeah, and they're out of Oklahoma. Abolitionist Rising, I think they used to call themselves, or maybe still do in some context, Free the States. Anybody from Free the States? But anyway, these guys, they're in Oklahoma, and there are other abolitionist groups around. Anybody heard of End Abortion Now? Jeff Durbin, those guys are out in Arizona. Matter of fact, Pastor Durbin, he will be here for our rally at the state capitol on February 21st. He's going to be our keynote speaker at our abolition rally that Wednesday. He heads up End Abortion Now, which is out there. They're in Arizona. Here in Missouri, Abolish Abortion Missouri, no, it's not just me and Ethan. We are a legitimate, 50. We are 50.
1C4 or
Yeah,
something.
C4. Gosh, I can't even get that right tonight. And I know what it is. I know it. I just, for some reason, when you just. But yeah, we're a 501c4 organization, and registered with the Secretary of State. So we are a real organization. And so I'm the executive director. We've got a vice president, secretary, treasurer, and then we've got a pastor committee, and we've got one man who's just lives just up the road from here in the Perryville area, a pastor who's on that committee. So we've got a committee, and we're growing a little bit, a little bit at a time. Officially as an organization, we've only existed for about a year and a half, a little over a year and a half. But we're growing, and so we're.
So I watched a lot of those videos, and they talk to people on the street and just have conversations with people. A lot of the term abortion and a miscarriage, a lot of people think that is the same thing. What I've been seeing.
Mm-hmm.
The definition is not the same in my mind, but a lot of people on the street think that's the same thing.
Yeah, and in medical, to the lay person, it's not, right? I agree with you. There's a big difference between an abortion and a miscarriage, right? A miscarriage is not intentional. It's just something that happens, nature, whatever it may be. The abortion is the intentional killing of a child. But some of that may go back to medical terminology, because in the field of medicine, a miscarriage is labeled as an abortion. A lot of times it's called a spontaneous, or a natural, or a spontaneous abortion. But that's what doctors call it. And so sometimes I think people get confused over that. We're not talking about that, right? A spontaneous or a natural abortion that occurs for natural reasons, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about an intentionally, willfully planned, induced abortion. There's the difference, right? There's a difference between a spontaneous or natural abortion and an induced abortion, right? And so, I know there's confusion out there. Senate Bill 775 does not apply to miscarriages. Okay? Doesn't apply. That's not an abortion. Okay, I see two hands back here. Oh, which one wants to go first?
Whenever I heard a politician or even a pro-life individual, whenever they've been asked a question about a woman committing the crime, a woman being incarcerated for having had an abortion, the answer has always been absolutely not, but that the doctor would be responsible. Just
Yep.
listening to what you're saying though with the at-home procedure, if that were off the table, are you saying then that if an abortion occurs, that the physician and the woman still would be held liable, or just the physician in that case?
For the self-managed, do it at home abortion?
If that were off the table?
Oh, yeah, well, if that was off the table in the sense that that was illegal, and that the
Right.
mother,
So a
okay.
physician,
Yeah, so Senate Bill 775, if it's passed, right? And basically, killing that child under any means, any place is going to be illegal. It's going to be criminal. It's going to be a murder. That's what it does. It basically makes abortion a murder. Okay, the killing of a child a murder, which it is. And so at that point, anyone who participates in the willful, intentional killing of that child, that preborn child, could be held liable.
Like they've done in Texas.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, does that,
yes, that's the.
I mean,
that's what I
anybody,
wanted to know.
the mother, the doctor, if they would prescribe pills, would be held liable. You bet. Yeah.
How will you be able to manage or control the at-home abortions?
I mean, great question. You think about, of course, there is no way to really, what's the word, monitor it or something like that. How it's probably going to happen is the same way that many other cases of murder kind of proceed, right? Somebody tips a prosecutor or law enforcement, provides a tip. I mean, think about it today, when somebody kills somebody today. I mean, sometimes people get away with it. We don't always know when somebody murders somebody else. We don't know who did it, And I mean, sometimes people commit murder, they never get caught. I mean, we break laws all the time, right? And I mean, and the reason I make a point of this, you got a great question, is because we hear that a lot. Well, there's no way to really enforce that, so we're not going to pass that law. Listen. We've got all kinds of laws on the books, current murder laws included, which people get away with. Does that mean that we just ought to get rid of all those laws, those laws on murder, because we don't catch everyone who commits it? We've got laws against robbery, stealing, but you all know there's people out there that commit those crimes and get away with it. Well, should we get rid of those laws simply because we can't catch everybody? Obviously not. So how that's probably going to work, ma'am, is just like any other case where a crime's going to be committed and somebody's gonna inform law enforcement that, this woman murdered that baby. And at that point, how does it proceed? It proceeds just like any other case would proceed. There are no special conditions or circumstances in an abolition bill for how, for how this proceeds. Basically, at that point, law enforcement would maybe follow up on those tips, investigate. If they find evidence, they turn it over to the prosecutor. The county prosecutor looks at the evidence, And if they decide that, yeah, there's evidence here that a pretty strong case that this woman, murdered this preborn child, then that prosecutor can choose to file charges. And it proceeds just like any other case would. I mean, that's due process, that's equal justice, equal protection under the law, even for the woman. And that's how these cases would proceed. Is it going to stop all abortions? No. But our murder laws don't stop all murders, right? We just need the law to, so that we recognize what? That we provide, we recognize the humanity of the preborn, and that we provide them with equal protection and equal justice under the law. And that's what God requires, right? Ma'am, does that?
Yeah,
Does,
and I could see it only maybe if there were medical emergency due to the, this.
yeah. And again, in those cases, medical emergencies, that's not what this bill addresses.
No, but that's how it could be brought to the law.
Well, maybe,
Prosecution.
Yeah, if a woman's taking pills and then something's went wrong,
Right.
and yeah, she has to then go and get medical care, you could have a doctor that would then have to report that. Mhm. Okay, I saw,
Sharon over there.
okay, and I don't know if we ever, go ahead, ma'am.
Well, I work at a pregnancy center, Options for Women, and this is a really difficult subject because we have these women coming in. Now, let me want to say, I've been there 6 years, and we used to get 2 and 3 calls a week
Mhm.
from abortion-minded women coming in. We would talk to them, give them all their options, do it, if they're abortion-minded, we do the ultrasound. Since Roe versus Wade, that has really gone down.
Sure.
And even now that the abortion pill is not regulated, I should say, that they can just get it, we're hardly getting any calls
Mhm.
of abortion-minded women, which is really scary
Yeah.
because I know what they're doing.
Mhm.
Because sometimes they'll call and say, do you guys do the abortion pill? No, we don't. Well, where can I get it? I'm sorry, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I don't. And, but it's very difficult because I also do post-abortion counseling for women that have already had it, and
Mhm.
I see them weep and cry and mourn
Yeah.
for what they did.
Yeah.
So I really struggle with what am I gonna do if this does pass, because I don't want to turn anybody in, but I also don't want them to kill the baby.
Right.
But it's very, a lot of them, they've told us, I had no idea what I was doing. My parents drugged me off, I was 15, they took me right up there to St. Louis, and now it's so accessible for our girls here to go across to Carbondale,
Mhm.
so easy. And so what we always ask them is, if they're abortion, minded, if they wanna think about it, we always try to get them to come back for an ultrasound, always. But can we call you in a week or so?
Yeah.
And sure, call me. Well, a lot of times they do not answer the phone. Or I had one girl tell me a couple months ago, she says, oh, I just went ahead and got the abortion. And I'm
Mhm.
like, okay. But I would feel like if somebody says that to me now, if that bill passed, I would have to turn that in. I don't know if I can do that.
Mhm.
So that would be something I would have to grapple with.
You would.
Yeah.
You would, because,
And-
yeah, you might be a mandated reporter, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
I
we
don't.
are for abuse and other
Right.
rape and things like that, so I don't have to really pray about that. And that makes it really difficult for pregnancy centers, I think, that are trying to help these girls walk through their, and save their baby. I mean, that's our goal, main goal, is saving their baby or adopting that baby out. But it's just really scary.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but it's hard to say the word murder, even though I know
Yeah, it is.
Just because I see the other side of the women that have already had them and the suffering that they
Mhm.
are dealing with now. And I don't know, I'm just.
See, I think that that's one of the reasons why we need to just be upfront, and we need to call it what it is, right? I mean, we need a bill like 775, because, you know, when you have the law in place, the law does what? It's intended to keep people from performing evil things, to doing evil things, right? It's a teacher, as Paul says in Scripture, right? And so you have that law in place, says this is murder. Here are the consequences for committing this murder. The intent of that is to do what? Not only apply equal justice and equal protection to the preborn, that's one intent, the big intent, but it's also to deter women like you're talking about from committing that act and then having that grief to bear, oftentimes for the rest of their life. You know, once they know, yeah, it's wrong, here are the consequences. Hopefully there will be a lot less women that murder their baby. But they've got to know what it is. See, that's why we've got to start talking. It may be an uncomfortable word to use, but we've got to start telling people the truth about what it is. As long as we just let people believe it's just a clump of cells or, you know, something that is of lesser value.
We don't do that.
Right, but our society as a whole does.
Yeah.
Well then, if I kill it, so what? Right? We've got to start sending the true message. You know, that this is a human being, just like you and I. You end it, you're ending a life, just like you would be if you killed you or I. And hopefully, you know, that will deter women, many, not all, but some, from committing the act. Sir?
When you first started your talk, about 4 screens back, you underlined section 2 of a House bill. Keep on going back. The second sentence.
I'm not.
I think you went out of that and went.
Oh, it was the trigger law.
Yeah, trigger law 108.
That screen doesn't look right.
Was it that one?
No, you went out of that, you went to your regular, browser. You went to your browser. I got it pulled up here.
Oh, I'll hold it here. Okay, so what do I have to do? Now I'm trying to get back in this thing.
Hold on, I got you.
Might have to hit escape.
Right here, notwithstanding.
Yeah, okay, so,
You mentioned the second sentence of that.
it says, okay, go ahead, and I can read it if you need me
It
to.
was something about a woman could not be prosecuted.
Yep. Right, here's what it says. It basically says, you know, she will not be held accountable, but here's what it says, the actual words. The last sentence, it's the last sentence of subsection 2. It says, a woman upon whom an abortion is performed or induced in violation of this subsection shall not be prosecuted for a conspiracy to violate the provisions of the subsection. So,
What does that mean?
well, what it means is that she's not going to be held accountable for killing that baby. So, you know, if she chooses, that mother chooses to kill that child, and she goes to, you know, seeks out a doctor, right? To induce that abortion, surgically, chemically, whatever. The doctor's held accountable, but not the woman. That's what that is saying.
And that hasn't passed, that's being introduced.
No, that's the law in Missouri. That is the current law in Missouri. Now, you all know that if any of us went out and hired somebody else to kill somebody for us, we would be held accountable. We would be prosecuted for murder. The woman can do that to the preborn child. Go and hire the hitman, so to speak, to kill my child. The hitman's held responsible, but not the woman. But the mother was the one that conspired to do it.
Can you
Right.
elaborate on why the Right to Life organization doesn't really support this bill?
Yeah, the Missouri Right to Life does not support our abolition bills because they don't believe that a woman should be held accountable for murdering her baby. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. They don't believe she should be held accountable. When you really press them for why not, they don't have a good answer. But they don't believe a mother should be held accountable. So the best that they've got to offer is what? Is what they've been doing for 50 years, which is not end abortion, and it never will end abortion, is to just pass pro-life legislation that restricts it. Right? That's the best they can do. If you're not going to hold the perpetrator accountable, you're never going to end the crime. So you just you do what you can do to restrict it all that you can. Right? And here's the truth about the pro-life. Jan, I don't know where we are for time.
We're good.
But here's the truth. Some of you may have heard me say this before. And I'm going on record saying this. Truth about the pro-life movement, which we are not a part of the pro-life movement. We're abolitionists. We are the real, true pro-lifers, but we're not a part of the pro-life movement. The truth about the pro-life movement is that they are, in my opinion, they're the right wing of the pro-abortion, pro-choice movement. All right? Those 17 initiative petitions, you know why there's 17 of those? One reason why there's 17 is because the pro-abortion, the pro-choice camp, there's a lot of factions in it. And there's one faction, that's way over on the far left that says no restrictions whatsoever. Abortion on demand all the way up to the point of birth or even after. And then you've got other groups within the pro-choice movement that say, no, we can't live with that. There's got to be certain restrictions, maybe second trimester. And then you've got other factions within the camp that say, no, that's even too far for us. We want it down to about, 15 or so weeks. Right? You see what I'm saying? They're divided over the degree of restriction. Some taxpayer funded. Others say, no, not taxpayer funded. Some, Mr. Turner, you got to have parental consent. Other factions within that camp say, no, don't believe in parental consent. All right? The pro-life movement is simply the far right, in my opinion, faction within the pro-abortion, pro-choice movement.
Makes sense.
Let's allow abortion. If a mother really wants to abort to kill this baby, that's fine. And every bill that they've ever introduced and supported in Jefferson City and any other state allows for it. But let's make sure it's done under a lot of restrictions. See, they're the right wing of that camp. It's okay, and it should be permitted as long as it's heavily, heavily restricted. That's the pro-life movement, folks. That's not us abolitionists. We're saying this is an evil abomination. Let's end it now. All right? Sir, saw your hand first, then we'll go to Mr. Turner.
If this bill gets passed, is there say a woman committed an abortion before this was passed? Would she be liable?
No.
Date?
No.
If it
No.
was in law?
It's not retroactive. right? I mean, we never do that, right? I mean, again, we're seeking equal justice, equal protection for everyone under the law. It is not just to go back and then to prosecute people for things that they did when those things were not considered by society to be a crime or to be illegal. That wouldn't be just. So the law is not retroactive in any way. In any way, no.
I'd just like to state that what this bill does is it puts it in stone that we believe life begins at conception.
Exactly.
And so when you don't have it in stone and you draw a line and you say, well, we can allow this many exceptions, that gives the ability for people to move that line further and further. It's a slippery slope. So what you're doing is you're opening the door for further scooting it down the line until it is a baby who's been to term of eight months, right? And now they're pushing in other states for these. And so what seems like a comfortable give on the basic exceptions really can storm further to the left. And we've seen many states where this has already taken place. So that's, life either begins at conception or it doesn't.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it does. So.
And it does. Yeah, and I really think that if one of these petitions gets to the ballot before Missouri voters may not realize it, but Mr. Turner, I think that's the issue that we're really voting on and deciding as a people.
That's it. It's either a life or it isn't.
That's right. We may not recognize it, but I think that's really what we're doing.
Got one more?
One more.
Well, I just wanted two things, because you're starting to see the commercials that, rape or incest or the life of the mother. And, when you look at rape or incest, I remember seeing something where it was the studies like 0.0 something for,
Yeah.
those that actually saw that and reported that that's why they were seeking that. But the other thing is, is just swimming back upstream just a little farther before they ever got pregnant. Education. I think it was 20 years ago, they had that, the health department. And, that they could bring them in and provide education and whether they depend on religion, birth control. And I remember in school, when I was in high school, that was part of health. There was some of that, because the boys left the room and the girls got the education. So there's nothing about that. And I think it falls on the parents. And then I remember with my group, my daughter, she had a group of 7. 5 of them were pregnant, ended up pregnant. And I remember moms asking me, what do you talk to your daughter? What do you say? And I said, I just say it. She may yell me, she may scream, I just say it. I just said it. And so it was just amazing that, that they're afraid, parents are afraid to talk to their children. That's what just swimming back upstream a little farther before they ever became pregnant. And just some avenues there.
That's
Nothing ever is discussed about that.
really where it starts, isn't it? Is in the home, mom and dad. Yeah, it is. You're right. You give those kids a biblical Christian worldview.
Right, base, good base.
And that's right.
Right.
That's right.
It's not as far.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
for being here.